You told yourself one more headline. That was an hour ago. Your thumb is still moving, the news is still bad. And somewhere underneath the tiredness, a quiet part of you does not want to stop. Here is what makes that strange. You are one of the safest humans who has ever existed. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors woke up not knowing if they would eat that day, whether the water was clean, whether the sound in the grass was wind or something patient and hungry. You wake up in a locked room in a solid elding, in a world of hospitals and full shelves. Almost nothing in your ordinary day can kill you, and yet your chest is tight about a disaster on another continent, happening to strangers, in a place you could not point to on a map. So why does your body act like the danger is in the room with you? You know the scrolling makes you feel worse. You keep reading anyway. You have called it doomscrolling. You have called it a bad habit, a weakness, a failure of discipline. It is none of those things. The pull you feel toward bad news is not a glitch in your brain. It is one of the oldest survival systems you own, running exactly the way it was built to run. And by the end of this, you will know the one question your ancestors used to silence that alarm, a question that still works today. Go back with them for a moment. It is just after dawn on an open plain, hundreds of thousands of years ago. Your ancestor stands at the edge of camp, scanning the tall grass. The light is low and orange. Most of what she hears is nothing. Wind, birds, the others waking behind her. But she is not listening for the ordinary sounds. She is listening for the one sound that is wrong. Now, think about what her brain had to get right. If she missed good news, a fruit tree ripening over the hill, she lost a meal. Annoying, but survivable. If she missed bad news, a lion moving low through the grass, she lost everything. Do you see how unequal that trade is? One mistake costs an afternoon. The other removes her from the story completely. Evolution does not grade on happiness. It grades on grandchildren. So the brains that got passed down were the ones that treated bad possibilities as louder, stickier, and more urgent than good ones. Scientists have been watching this lopsidedness at work for decades. The psychologists Paul Rosen and Edward Roisman gathered the evidence together and gave it a name: negativity bias. Across almost every corner of life they examined, bad was simply stronger than good. Bad events hit harder than good ones of the same size. Bad impressions form faster and last longer, and bad memories keep their sharp edges, while good ones soften. The psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky found the same tilt in how you make decisions. Losses loom larger than gains, which is why losing money stings so much more than winning the same amount delights. The neuroscientist John Cacioppo measured electrical activity in people's brains and found that negative images produced a bigger response than positive ones within a fraction of a second. Before you have even decided what you think, your brain has already turned up the volume on the bad. And the evolutionary psychiatrist Randolph Nesse explained why the whole system runs so hot. He called it the smoke detector principle. A smoke alarm that shrieks at burnt toast is irritating. A smoke alarm that stays silent through one real fire is fatal. When the costs are that unequal, the best possible design is an alarm that fires too often. Your anxiety is not oversensitive by accident. It is oversensitive on purpose. Now picture a night, deep in that ancient world. A fire, a circle of faces, and a visitor, someone arriving from a band that camps 2 valleys away. He brings news. Some of it is pleasant. The rains came early in the south. A child was born. People nod and smile. But watch what happens when the news turns dark. Sickness in the next valley. A man killed at a river crossing. A leopard that has started taking dogs from the edge of a camp. Everyone leans in. The fire crackles and nobody speaks. Which stories do you think were repeated word for word to everyone who was not there that night? The bad ones. The good news was half forgotten by morning. The leopard was still being discussed a season later. But notice 3 things about that leopard. The news of it was rare. A visitor came sometimes, not 60 times a minute. It was near. 2 valleys is a distance you could walk. And it was actionable. You could avoid the river crossing, move the dogs, keep the children close to the fire. Rare, near, actionable. For hundreds of thousands of years, that was the shape of almost every piece of bad news that ever reached a human being. Hold on to those 3 words, because here comes the twist. Your alarm system never broke. The news broke. The feed in your hand delivers bad news that is infinite instead of rare, global instead of near. And this is the part that quietly wrecks you, almost never actionable. You cannot walk to that flood. You cannot stand between anyone in that war. Your brain sounds the alarm exactly as designed, floods your body with vigilance, and then finds nothing to do with it. In the old world, the alarm had an off switch. You acted or the danger passed, and your body stood down. In your world, the next headline arrives before the last alarm has finished ringing. When was the last time a headline gave you something you could actually do? You are not scrolling despite feeling worse. You are scrolling because that felt sense of alarm was, for your ancestors, the feeling of doing it right. Spotting the threat early was how you stayed alive. Checking one more time was how you kept everyone breathing. Your phone found that ancient reward loop and made it bottomless. And none of this is an accident. The people who build feeds and write headlines learned very quickly what holds a human gaze. The media researcher Stuart Soroka and his colleagues showed people news stories from around the world and measured how their bodies reacted. Across countries and cultures, negative stories produced stronger physical responses than positive ones, even in people who insisted they wanted more good news in their lives. Do you see the gap? Your opinions prefer good news, your nervous system votes for the lion, and every alert that lights up your phone is a stranger shouting lion across the camp, and some of those strangers profit every single time you flinch. So drop the shame. You are not weak. You are not morbid. You are not broken or addicted by nature. You are the descendant of the ones who took the rustle in the grass seriously, and you are running their ancient software in a world that manufactures rustles by the million. Which brings you back to the question, the one your ancestors used without ever needing words for it. When bad news arrived at the fire, every mind in the circle asked the same silent thing. Can I do something about this? Is it near? Is it mine? If yes, they acted. They moved camp, warned the children, walked the long way to water. And if the answer was no, the news simply became a story, and the band went back to eating. That question is still yours to use. When the alarm fires in your chest, ask it, is this near me? Is it mine to carry? Is there one real thing I can do? If there is, do that thing, and let the doing quiet the alarm the way doing always has. And if there is not, you are allowed to look away. Looking away from what you cannot act on is not ignorance. It is the modern shape of the all clear. There is one more thing your ancestors can hand you. They did not all keep watch all night, every night. That would have destroyed them. They took turns. Someone watched the darkness while the others slept, and then the watcher lay down and let someone else take the grass. You can do the same with the news. A time to check, briefly and on purpose, and long stretches when the watch belongs to someone else. That is not hiding from the world. That is how centuries have always survived the job. You told yourself one more headline. Now you know who is talking. The part of you that once stood at the edge of camp in the orange dawn, scanning the grass, trying to keep everyone alive. The grass will always rustle. You get to choose when to stand watch, and you get to choose when at last to turn around and come back to the fire.